Hey guys, so yesterday Sony had an announcement and it was a pretty big one for Sony APS-C. They announced two new camera bodies and two brand new APS-C G Master lenses, which is a first for Sony to offer a G lens for an APS-C crop sensor camera. In this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about the announcement, a little bit about the specs of what the new cameras are. I've been getting a lot of questions and a lot of comments on my other videos from confused people wondering what in the world is going on and which camera should I buy. So my favorite part about Sony announcements or any real new product announcements, whether that be Apple, Samsung, Sony, whoever, Canon, is people going nuts. And I'm talking about in the comments section on YouTube, in the forum posts, on Reddit, in social media, people are going crazy. And a lot of it is just straight up complaining. When it comes to the brand new cameras, in particular the brand new Sony A6600, that one feature that everyone is talking about is 4K 60. Why would they release an A6600 with no 4K 60? It's important to understand that Sony doesn't have a camera, at least within its full frame or its crop sensor lineup currently, that offers 4K 60. I think that they're waiting for the A7S Mark III to release that feature, but that's just a guess of mine. Inevitably, when 4K 60 comes out on whatever Sony camera there is, by that point, everyone's gonna want 8K or something else. There's always gonna be another thing that they wish they could have on their camera, and people are going to complain about it. So, in this video, I'm gonna try not to complain about any of these new features. I'm just going to go over the two new camera bodies, the new features, and then I'm going to talk about the two lenses briefly as well as what those include. So here we go. All right, so let's talk about the Sony APS-C camera lineup. Now, Sony kind of shot themselves in the foot a little bit just because it's a little confusing now. Most people are used to a higher number means a newer camera, but now Sony has kind of switched that around, and so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So this all started, let's say, with the Sony A5100, which was a flip-up vlog camera. A5100 came out. Great camera. The upgrade to that was the Sony A6000. This thing came out years ago. The replacement or the upgrade to this was the Sony A6300. And then finally, the upgrade to the A6300 was the A6500. The reason why it starts to get confusing is because Sony sold all of these cameras side by side as they appealed to potentially different buyers. One is more professional, one is a lot more casual. With these new cameras, what they're doing is they're essentially upgrading the A6000. The replacement to the A6000 is now the A6100. The replacement to the A6300 came out earlier this year, which is the A6400, and the replacement to the A6500 is now the A6600. So kind of scrap all of the old cameras, and if we were to start again, A6100, A6400, and A6600 are the brand new line from Sony APS-C. And I don't know what they're gonna do with the old A6000, A63, and A6500 cameras. I'm hoping that they'll stop production and then just stop selling them, because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to buy an older version of the camera, but you never know. Sony might be selling 7 APS-C cameras side by side by side. So let's talk about the new Sony A6100, because I think this is probably, for me, one of the more interesting releases. So it has, unfortunately, the same sensor, 24.2 megapixel. I read somewhere that it's updated, but then I read in other places that it's the exact same sensor. So we'll see. I'll be pre-ordering this one, and I will be testing it side by side with some other cameras that I own, just to see if there are any improvements with the sensor. With the new A6100, you are getting the super fast 0.02 of a second focusing speed, 425 contrast detection autofocus points, as well as 425 phase detection autofocus points. If you remember, the A6000 right here came out with 179 phase detection autofocus points, so it's a huge jump forward, and the autofocus performance of the new A6400, which I've used extensively over the last couple of months, is nothing short of amazing. With the A6100, you now get real-time eye autofocus, which is amazing. If you've ever shot with real-time eye autofocus on a Sony camera for portraits, there's really nothing that can beat it. It really is truly amazing. So you get that with their new entry-level camera. The A6100 also shoots 4K video now, which is something that the A6000 never did. 4K video up to 30 frames per second. The A6100 also has a microphone port or a microphone jack. Now, the entire new lineup from Sony has mic jacks in addition to flip-up screens. That's right, the A6100 has the flip-up screen from the A6400, as does the A6600. So you can go vlog all day long with your new A6100. As for 4K recording, the new A6100 will be downsampling a 6K video file down to 4K or oversampling. So it's going to give you very, very sharp, very nice looking 4K footage. The one area that is kind of interesting and perhaps one of the few differences between the new A6100 and the A6400 is, from what I read, the A6100 does not have any video picture profiles. So no S-Log and no HLG as far as I can tell. What it will have, however, is the brand new Color Science improved skin tones that came out really with the A7 III, and the A6400 actually adopted the improved colors. So if you are shooting portraits with the new A6100, the images should look a ton better. So the brand new A6100 is going to be released next month in October. The price, $750. Now, initially I thought that was a little bit high, but then once I read through all of the specs, there's really nothing out there right now that gets you that continuous eye autofocus, that gets you 4K video recording downsampled in a small compact body. I will be testing it side by side with the A6400. I'll give you guys a final verdict when I get around to an actual review once this camera is launched in October. All right, so next up, let's talk about the brand new flagship from Sony, the A6600. So with the new A6600, you are getting a couple of big upgrades. Number one is, in video mode, you have real-time eye autofocus. So that means you could be recording a video of someone talking, and the entire time the camera will be focusing on that person's eyes, which is amazing. It is a feature that they rolled out with the A7R4, and now that same technology is packed into a tiny camera body, the A6600. In addition, the A6600 is the only camera in the new lineup that has IBIS, or in-body image stabilization. Now, I don't know if they've improved it over the A6500, which I'm using to record this video, but I hope that they have. It's a 5-stop shutter speed improvement IBIS according to the technical release, but in the real world we'll see how good it is, and we'll do a comparison to the A6500. Instead of using these tiny FW50 batteries that we are so used to if you have one of these APS-C cameras, the A6600 will be using the Z-type, or the full frame type batteries, which are significantly larger, and they result in essentially double the battery life of the previous model. So if you're using this camera in a professional setting, you can probably get away with shooting on one battery the entire day, and you don't have to worry about carrying around backups with you. Because of the bigger battery, Sony also had to expand or extend the grip. Apparently the ergonomics on the A6600 are even better than those on the A6500. I wish that they would trickle down some of the ergonomics of the A6500 down to the A64 and the A61, but unfortunately it's the exact same body, so you get kind of a shallow grip. The A6600 body is dust and moisture resistant, as you would expect. It has now a headphone jack, which is interesting. A lot of people were asking for a headphone jack in addition to the mic jack so that you can monitor audio externally with your camera, so that's included. No dual SD card slots, unfortunately. Again, no 4K 60. Those were the two kind of big things that people were looking for, but no such luck there. Also, apparently there is no pop-up flash on the A6600. Again, kind of a weird move. So the A6600 will be released in November of this year. The price, $1,400, which is a lot. It's $500 more than the A6400. So you have to make sure that the IBIS, the bigger battery, the continuous eye autofocus for video, and the headphone jack are worth that $500 price tag. So those are the two camera bodies that Sony announced yesterday. Now, some of you may be disappointed by those because a couple of features were missing, but I would say overall, it's really exciting to know that A, Sony hasn't forgotten about APS-C users. B, they recognize that there are different levels of users. In fact, they market these new cameras to kind of hobbyists, semi-professional, and then professional users, which is nice. And the fact that they released 3 new APS-C cameras all within the last year is pretty amazing. I mean, very few camera companies out there are releasing camera bodies as quickly as Sony does. Now let's talk about the two brand new lenses. Now both of these lenses are for Sony APS-C specifically, and both of them are G series lenses. The first one is probably the most exciting one that everyone's been talking about, and that is the 16 to 55. Notice it's kind of a combo of the 16 to 50 and the 18 to 55, the old one. So 16 on the wide end, 55 on the telephoto end. Constant F2.8 aperture G series lens for Sony APS-C. I have been asking for this lens for a long time. In fact, I went to Sony Kondo just a couple of weeks ago, maybe a week and a half ago, and I sat down with 6 or 7 engineers from Sony from their headquarters in Tokyo, and I talked about how important having a fast walk-around constant f2.8 lens was. And I'm sure looking back, they probably knew that they were about to release it, and I was asking for it, so I wonder if they were like, you just wait a couple weeks. But anyway, it is released now. It's super exciting. The weird thing about this lens is that it doesn't have any optical stabilization. So it's fine for the A6600 and the A6500 if you still have that, but for the A61 and the A64, it's not going to be stabilized, which I think is a little bit odd given the price tag, which is, get ready for it, $1,400. Yes, so the price of the A6600 body is the price of the entire lens, the new walk-around lens. I was expecting it to come in at $600 to $700, but no, it's a G series lens, and so the price is pretty high up there. For your $1,400, you are getting a very light lens. It weighs only 494 grams, which is less than a pound, which is pretty impressive for a constant f2.8. It is dust and moisture resistant. It has a linear focusing motor, which is what they include with their higher end G series lenses. Essentially, it's really fast at catching focus, which is awesome. It's also silent at focusing. And then the last thing is that it has a linear manual focus ring. So it's still electronic, but it doesn't speed up or slow down like a lot of lenses out there do. So it should be easier to do follow focus with that lens. So this lens will be released next month in October. I'm not excited to pay $1,400 for it, but I don't really think it's going to go on sale on Black Friday either. So what can you do? And the last lens that Sony announced is the brand new 70 to 350 millimeter 4.5 to 6.3 OSS G lens for Sony APS-C. And this lens is also very exciting, especially because the Sony APS-C lineup really hasn't had a strong telephoto lens. I mean, the 55 to 210 is there, but it's really not that great. It's cheap, which is nice, but it's not amazing when it comes to optical image quality. This new lens, being a G series, should be much better. It has optical stabilization, which is awesome. The equivalent full frame focal length is 105 millimeters to 525 millimeters, so you're going to be able to spy on your neighbor's 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 neighbor. In addition, this new lens also has the linear motor from the higher end G series lenses, and it is dust and moisture resistant. This thing is coming out in November. I'm super excited about it. It's also going to cost a ton of money though, so $1,000 is the official release US price. So that is it. Those are the 4 brand new products, 4 brand new announcements that Sony had for Sony APS-C shooters of mirrorless. I am super happy. I'm super excited. I know that, like I said before, a lot of you might be disappointed with some of the features, you might be disappointed with some of the pricing, but overall, what we need to take away from this is that Sony still cares, and it's nice to see them releasing 2 new lenses and essentially 3 new camera bodies all in 1 year for us Sony APS-C shooters. I'm excited. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. I'm going to be pre-ordering both cameras and both lenses probably, and if you would like to do the same or pre-order maybe 1 or 2 cameras or a couple of lenses, you can do that down below. I'll have links to B&H where you can pre-order those. So let me know down in the comments if you guys are planning on upgrading any of your old APS-C cameras, A6000, A63, or A65, to these newer line of cameras. Curious to know because I don't know. I'm probably going to be upgrading a couple of my cameras to the new models. We'll see what happens. I am really excited to try them all side by side and do a one big massive 6-way comparison. All right, so thank you guys for watching. Thanks so much for all of your likes, comments, and support. Stay tuned for more and have a nice day. Bye-bye.